Okay, so hi guys. It's the end of our second day of Rev, which is technically the third day of Rev. So today we saw 5 movies. It was pretty full on. You'll have to excuse any cats that jump through the vlog while I'm doing it because I drove home tonight, so I couldn't make the video while I was driving because the HSP would have yelled at me for doing things that are unsafe. I noticed in the last video that I didn't say so much, but I do this thing where I kind of roll my eyes, so I'm going to try really hard not to do that anymore. But I think I just did it then. So today we saw, let me get my book. Today we saw The Substance, which was a really cool movie. I know a little bit about the history of LSD and the Merry Pranksters and Tim Leary and the CIA using it as a truth serum and that kind of thing. I didn't know a lot about where LSD very first came from, and the man called Albert Hoffman. So that was really interesting. Very interesting documentary. A little bit sad because Albert Hoffman really thought he'd come up with a way to make things better for mankind as a whole, and it kind of became bastardized and got away from him, and I think he really felt very guilty about this monster that he had created. So that was a little bit sad, but it was a really interesting doco. It is on again at some point. I'm just scanning the book quickly, trying to see where it's on next Saturday at 4:45. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, you should get along and see that because it was really good. Then we saw what I've been calling Archeo, but is probably more closely pronounced as Archeo. There was much debate over that today in the upstairs lounge at the Astor. A very visually stunning film. Beautiful cinematography, one sequence in particular involving water and blood, slightly uncomfortable, but really visually stunning the way it was filmed. It won't be the kind of movie that everybody wants to see. I would probably, to liken it from a movie from last year, I would liken it to Meek's Cutoff. It's one of the more challenging films of the festival, I would say, and not for people who like their movies to be easy. And that is on again at some point. Let me scan my book again. You think I would do some kind of like preparation for these things, but no. It's on Thursday, sorry, at 9:15. So if challenging movies with visually stunning cinematography sound like your thing, you should get along to that. Then we saw Undefeated, which I wasn't very excited about. It was just kind of on the program because I try to see as many films as possible during the festival. It's about American football, so I wasn't very excited because American football, who cares, whatever. So far for me, it would have to be the standout of the festival. I mean, I know we're only 2 days in, but brilliant. I can't say brilliant enough times to describe the film. Just the best uplifting kind of heartfelt, really honest filmmaking about a group of kids from Mississippi, I think, Missouri, an American state that and a town in that state that has a very clear racial divide between black and white, and in particular about 3 or 4 of the kids involved in the football team and the inspiring and just amazingly dedicated man who coaches them and all the effort he puts in, and a bit about his team that works with him and supports him. I was sobbing at various points in the movie. I was cheering for the boys to get touchdowns, to win, to achieve all the things. Just the way the coach spoke to them was just amazing, a really inspirational man to listen to. So yeah, really great movie. So I would definitely recommend you get along to that. It is on Tuesday at 4:30, and it may possibly be on somewhere else as well. I'm just scanning the book. No, it looks like Tuesday at 4:30. So if you can get along to that, I really cannot recommend it highly enough. And if you say, but I don't like American football, just ignore the fact that it's about American football, because it's really not about American football. It's about overcoming your circumstances and being more than what people expect you to be. Then we saw The Imposter, which is a funny, quirky little film. Very polished documentary. Not as rough as some of the films that we sometimes get at Rev. And I'm not saying rough is in a bad thing, but a lot more polished than we normally see. That's not true, actually. But it was very well polished. About a guy who has a compulsion for adopting identities, and in one particularly famous case, adopted the identity of a missing teenage boy from Texas. And it's just that story told from his point of view as well as the family's point of view, and that kind of process of what happened. I found myself identifying and really liking the villain of the film, which was the guy who took the identity of the missing boy, and not particularly liking the family very much, which I thought was a strange turn of events, because they were really the victims, and he was the bad guy. So I found that really interesting. It's a really interesting story if you have got time to see that. It is on, let me see, it's on tomorrow, Sunday, at 4:45. Definitely worth a look if you can get down to the Astor. Yeah, really interesting story. And the last one we saw was Livid, which is a kind of gothic vampire sort of tale. They were speaking French, so I assume it was a French movie. Again, visually stunning, well shot, great atmosphere, great aesthetic. And despite being a very European feeling movie, had a very distinct Japanese flavor to it, which sounds bizarre, I know, but that sort of Japanese horror film, particular way of doing things, particular way of moving, particular way of portraying certain things, very much, and that sort of more towards women than men, that sort of female focus that Japanese horror films tend to have. So that was really interesting, but you can't see it because it was only on tonight. So if you can find it and watch it, I would suggest that you do that. But you can't see it at Rev. But there are lots of other good movies for you to see. So tomorrow, we will be seeing, if you'd like to come and say hi, Way of the Morris at 12:15. The George, I have no idea how to say it, so I'm just going to go with what I think it is. The George Méliès project. He was featured recently in that film, that's name has gone completely out of my head, about a boy and there's a robot and a girl and they have to thing, and it was there was a clock and lots of people said it was good, and I cannot think of the name for the life of me. It'll come to me as soon as I start recording, but at the moment I can't think of it. We'll also be seeing Bad Brains, a band in DC, which is Stockholm, at 6 o'clock, and Whisperer in Darkness, which is a H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, I believe, which I'm really excited about. Looks pretty good. As I said, The Imposter's on tomorrow as well, so if you can get down for that, I would highly recommend it. Later in the week, there's a couple of movies that I think you should probably plan ahead for, because they're going to be great. Mongolian Bling. I'm really looking forward to that. Hip hop in Mongolia. I don't really think it could get much more awesome than that. So I suggest you find out when that's on, or I could tell you by looking on my book. It's on Friday, and it's also on Sunday next week. So you should get a program and find out when it is and get along to that because it looks awesome. And The Sheik and I, that looks pretty good as well. That's a documentary about these filmmakers that were asked to make this particular film, and then when they made this particular film, they were told that they were being really, like, heretical, but that's not the word that I'm looking for. But they were doing the wrong thing, basically, and then they got in trouble, which is hilarious. But it looks really interesting. I'm sure that there's a much better synopsis of the film in the actual program somewhere. But, you know, I like to just make stuff up. So I would suggest you get along to see that. That looks really good. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman looks awesome. It's about female superheroes and the like. People who are into female superheroes. So yes, at the moment, those are my picks. I really, 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 really cannot recommend strongly enough that you go and see Undefeated. Brilliant, brilliant film. So if you get down to the Astor tomorrow, feel free to say hi, because you know what I look like? I look like this. Except, hopefully tomorrow I will look slightly less tired than I do at 1:48 in the morning. Because hopefully I will have had a sleep in and I won't be this tired. So yeah, say hi if you see me at the Astor tomorrow. Come down and see some movies. You don't have to see the ones that I said were good. You can see other ones because, you know, you have free will. So, thanks for watching my video. Thanks, Rev, for another great day. And I'll see you tomorrow.